areas. So for example, if the administration, and, because I know this was probably discussed during the budget talks with Jerry, is that the other line item that has a rather significant increase is the professional services. So the department, during the budget process, the department can make budget transfers within its own department. So if it's decided that, maybe a full-time position would be there, they could maybe, there's an increase of about $27,000 for professional services, and Jerry will talk about that in a second. But you could allocate that increase to support a full-time position. And I know we kind of briefly discussed that too during our budget meetings. That could be an area, or there's other areas in the budget that if it doesn't come to fruition, that we could use to transfer money out if that was decided at that time of the hiring and when it's solicited and stuff like that. So
the additional professional services is because you don't have a person doing.
no, it's twofold, but it's Jerry's worst case scenario, and I'll go to the tab and Jerry can discuss why he increased it, but if that doesn't go to fruition, then he would have some extra money in his budget that he could allocate to making that part-time 32 hours to a full-time. He could use that pot to offset that potential cost increase.
Sure.
So we'll go to that account real quick. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, I just got a specific question. Would you rather have a 40-hour employee, or would you rather have a 32-hour part-time employee with a 4-hour-a-week intern or whatever? Go on. What do you think would be best for your department?
The best would probably be a 40-hour
Okay.
per person.
And a co-op, right?
Well, see,
That's
so,
right.
that's a good program. Yeah, so the co-op,
It is.
it's a decent program, and if I, and the student learns when they,
Right.
which is what I see as a benefit to it.
That's a good way to shadow a possible future employee as well.
Yeah.
And plus, you know what? Anything that happens anytime in your department, where somebody go off sick for a period of time, and God forbid, if something happened to you, we're a prick. Are we not?
Well, temporarily.
Yeah, temporarily. I'm not saying bury you. I'm just saying temporarily until you came back.
Yeah.
Tell me it is. But no, that's what I'm saying. My concern, because there's only certain things that can be done in the assessor's office because of your level is, correct?
Correct.
So without that level, we would be, I won't say,
Yeah,
we'll be in another situation like in other places we are.
Yeah, it would be difficult. What would have to happen is they would have to contract out with another role for to do the work.
And that's what I'm saying. That's my concern. So if we have people coming up in the future that are coming up these levels, at least we have people that are coming up those steps. So let's say you decide to retire or whatever happens, that next person, hopefully by then, a long time down the road, they're in the status to be where you would be.
Correct.
And keep them around rather than continue to lose people after we train them and then they disappear.
And we're on a 6-month rotation, no matter what.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Durr, do you want to talk about the professional services
So
now?
special services, what we discussed is I bumped up the cost of doing legal work for tax appeals and appraisal. We know we have probably 4 primary level appraisal that will be in the docket this year that we may have to go to court on if I can't settle. One of them is the Ford Motor Masco building on Van Born. We're at the moment agreeing to disagree with each other as far as what the values were. We have, and they still have to May 31st to actually file appeals with me this year. But my commercial, I have a couple of departments that have filed appeals with me a year ago that we may have to take, we spent some money on litigating, but can't settle. And the cost of attorney fees, if we actually go to court, they're usually in there for a week long, and their fees are extensive if I have to go to that detail. Which is why I kicked up the cost of the tribunal this year, knowing what I have in front of me and what I anticipate might be coming down this year with more commercial appraisal.
So Masco still owns that that property? then,
No,
right?
Masco
Isn't it
sold
Woods?
it.
Oh, okay.
What happened, Masco, leased out their building to Ford Motor at a really low lease rate. And Ford Motor came in, and then there's a 10-year
Right,
lease.
right, I think
And
it's,
so Masco sold that income stream to an
okay.
investor. And they paid $11 million for
And
both
it's not making any money.
the Kmart and the Masco building.
Okay.
And the new owner of the building is claiming that's what the property is worth, only $11 million versus my $40 million that I have it out for.
Okay.
And so that's under appeal.
Is that the Kmart or both of them combined?
Correct. Kmart and the Masco building combined.
The Masco building is pretty nice.
It is. It is.
I've been in there quite a few times.
Yeah.
That's where you used to work, isn't it?
Did Masco always own the Kmart property?
I don't think they did, did they?
Yes, we bought it about 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, when Kmart was still in there,
Okay.
thinking that we could evict Kmart
Eventually and expand?
and move our R&D, which is on the south side of 94, into that Kmart building.
Okay, right, I know that, I know what you're talking about, okay.
So we bought it, we bought it, and then Kmart said, no, we have 15 more years of lease here. So we owned it, and then we came up on the bail, and
Yeah.
They own a lot of houses too there.
no,
Yes,
3 or
sir.
4. Yeah.
I thought around one I had. Houses on the.
Really? On that street right there?
On the side street,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they have since disposed of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Overall, I think that's what we have presented to council as far as the proposed 245,700 is the increase in legal fees and
Okay.
The balance of the expenses are normal that we have every year for change notices, board review, staff, and our normal good work paper that we do every day.
All right, okay.
Just a quick question. If we were to hire that employee that he's thinking about, that a 40-hour employee, and let's just say all of a sudden they decide to bring him in as an employee under an LOE, okay? Salary range may be higher with benefits. How would we know the amount of money, and where would it come from? Would there be a budget amendment to move money into that account, or how would that work?
Again, like I said, I'm not quite familiar with the legality of the letter of appointments and how they get approved. If they have to come to council or not, that's not my jurisdiction.
I
But,
understand.
regards to the budget, the budgets are approved pretty much on an activity basis, not a line item basis. So in Jerry's instance, if what he could do is, okay, if the budget and the line item was gonna be $20,000 extra because of whatever's hired, and the level of benefits were different than what's here, then Jerry will have to make a decision, okay, can I absorb it in my department budget by reducing the professional services, because some of those cases may not go to fruition? Can we do a combination of lowering training, miscellaneous, or something to account for that difference in the personal services? If that can be achieved, then a budget amendment is not required at that point in time. But if it is, then the department would notify us and the mayor and said, hey, when they have a decision to make that full-time, or whatever the case is, it's gonna go over, my department's gonna go over budget as a whole, then that discussion and a budget amendment should be presented at that time, before the department goes over budget.
Would we ever be notified of that budget amendment?
Well, you have to
Other
approve,
than
Yeah, we would have to vote on it.
when a department as a whole is amended, that is approved through city council, yes.
Yeah.
So anytime an LOE is issued and a price is set by evidently it's the mayor, correct? And he sets a price for benefits and everything in that LOE. My concern is, are there monies being taken for some of the LOEs that you're aware of from different departments to pay for that individual, showing that they deducting from each department for services that they're giving into those departments.
And I know what you're saying, but I don't know, because I actually don't get copies of the LED.
And that's what I'm concerned with.
Either way.
We don't either.
But again, I don't know that answer, I just don't.
And that's what I'm concerned with. We don't know where the money's coming from.
But what we do with the budget amendment though is, like we're doing now for estimated for this year and next year, but in May and June, most likely June, we're gonna reevaluate everything as well too, and say, okay, if we're gonna be over budget in a department somewhere, we'll come up with a final budget amendment, because we can't amend the budget after fiscal year end, for that fiscal year. So technically, a violation is when, so we kind of define a violation is when that department's actually over budget, but we will know based on historical trends, payroll trends, stuff like that, if it's going to be like that. For example, if you look at the percentage of budgets, you know, we're at 90% of budget right now in the department, and we're already only in March. Well, there's a good chance that department's going to need a budget amendment before the end of the year, and we will recognize that, and we would submit a budget amendment at that time. And that's basically what the process is for the budget amendment, to make sure we don't go over budget. And then you guys would approve that budget amendment, and you have questions on that budget amendment, say, why are we increasing this budget? Then those will be answered those times. And when I do that budget amendment documents that you guys see, I try to put the explanations as to why, you know, an additional personnel, some capital outlay or carryover or something from the previous year that wasn't in the original budget. So those type of things are good, you know, even though that they were approved last year, but they're in this year, you know, they're in last year's budget, so we have to carry it over. You know, I clean up that kind of stuff really once a year, and that was probably back in January. And then we do this time where we kind of look at numbers again, and we think this is a good final document, and then we make sure we clean it up in June so that we're good for the audit, so.
I have a
So kind of
question.
like